I'm still sick, but I wanted to do a writing update because NaNoWriMo is around the corner and I'm very excited and also actively participating in NaNoWriMo this year. So hello, my name is Jade. This is going to be a bit of a writing update. If you are new to my channel, I do majority book content, but I also do writing as well as Japan content. A little bit of everything and a little bit all over the place. But today has been super exciting because I finally finished my 4th draft of my book, and that means that it is ready for beta readers. This has been a long and grueling process, and this feels especially significant because this is the first time I'm having people read my book that I don't know, not just personally, but like very, very closely. Yeah, I'm scared, but it also feels exciting and different and new, and I'm all about exciting and different and new, even if it is a little bit scary. So before I get into the NaNoWriMo portion, I do want to update where I am in my writing because it's all connected. A short, brief summary, if you are new to my channel, don't want to watch backlisted content and a lot of vlogs. In 2020, I drafted and wrote through all 3 books of my trilogy. I began the first book and just kept going all the way through 2020. Once I was finished with that, I set books 2 and 3 aside and worked just on book 1. Book 1 has been my primary focus and what I've been calling the Solstice Project for 3 years. After I set books 2 and 3 aside, I gave my 0 draft essentially to my critique partner and my partner, and they both looked it over and gave me feedback. I applied that feedback and made draft 1 of the Solstice Project. That's when I started sharing my journey on YouTube because I actually felt like really passionate and really strong about it after I had gotten through that first draft and made it into something like legible. Because honestly, if it had not been for an equal exchange from my critique partner and my partner being willing to like kill for me, I honestly would have felt absolutely horrible sharing that 0 draft because it was like next level terrible. Then after I did my rewrite for draft 1 and started sharing it, I moved to Japan and ended up setting it aside because I had to first off take a break from it, and I was just so in the world and so involved that I just needed to set it aside. It's also suggested you set aside your work after finishing a draft. So I did that, moved to Japan, and I spent quite a bit of time away from the project before picking it back up. I most of the time still think I'm in 2020, so this math might be way off, but essentially in 2021, I did a rewrite and edit myself from things I'd learned, and I saw a lot of flaws that I had not originally seen. Back in 2020, I thought that there was nothing more I could do with it, that this was the peak of what I was capable of and I needed to put it in someone else's hands because I just needed help. And my critique partner was super helpful with that, but once I had set time aside, I was really reading it more as a reader and a lot of things came to light, so I made a lot of changes, which is when I made draft 2 of the Solstice Project. Draft 2 I sent off to my editor, that's Yumi Yamamoto. She has been such a gem. I was a holy editor's nightmare and she put up with so much, but I would make edits as she went, and then she would look over my new edits and then go back, try and get that in a word count, and you won't. So absolutely do not suggest doing that to your editor, but I do have Yumi Yamamoto linked down below if you want an absolute sweetheart who also knows grammar, spelling, punctuation, and prose. That took a large majority of time because I was editing while my editor was editing, and that was not a great workflow for me, so I had to step aside, let her actually do her thing, and we ended up with draft 3 from 2022 to 2023 about. This is when I again felt like I needed feedback, and instead of going back to Yumi or critique partners or anything like that, I wanted to get a little bit more of a clean slate, but I was not ready to share it with strangers, people I didn't know very well, so I did alpha readers. Alpha reading and beta reading is slightly different. Alpha reading is people who unconditionally love and care about you or are close to you, who give it a first look over and try and help make sure you aren't embarrassed when you give it to beta readers, who are essentially your first readers. They are the people who are reading your book for the first time and would not help you bury a body. My alpha readers also helped me with a lot of feedback and a lot of encouragement to get my 4th draft done. That is where I'm at now. I, this morning, completed my 4th draft of the Solstice project, and I realized while I was writing this draft, I was ready not for publication, but to give this into hands of people who would not help me bury a body. I wanted feedback that would challenge me and would allow me to see like what I could improve within my writing. And while I got that with Yumi is one person, she's doing her darndest, but it's great to get as many eyes on a project as possible. And while it's scary, I really did get encouraged by giving it to alpha readers. So I don't think that any part of the process has been a mistake for me. The alpha reader feedback was helpful as well as encouraging. So I am now doing beta reading. You might have noticed on my community page, I posted for beta readers. I also posted on Threads, Facebook, a couple other forums and places alpha reading and beta reading seems to be normal. And my intention is not to have as many beta readers as possible, but to get a set group of people who I think would be a really good fit. So if your favorite book is Lord of the Flies, you might not enjoy the Solstice project as much, and that's completely fine and okay. But yeah, I'm looking for kind of a little bit of a condensed group that I can hopefully grow with and can give me feedback to help me push it into its 5th draft, which would be the draft I would give back to Yumi for proofreading and final copy edits. That would lead into the 6th draft, advanced reader copies, and that's when I have physical copies and I send it out to advanced readers, which brings me right back around to more people who would help me bury a body. So if you are willing to help me bury a body, please do not apply to be a beta reader for me. Please ask me for an advanced reader copy of my book, because I will need not help burying bodies, but help burying 1 stars when my book does eventually come out, and that is what advanced readers are for. I'm really excited to be in the beta reading part of the process. It's also really terrifying. I've had to speak to strangers and be like, hi, you don't know me, please read my book. So if you are one of those strangers and you're interested in beta reading from me, I guess this is also an announcement of what my project is called, because I have to start using the title. If you go to my blurb now, you'll see the title of my book and my characters, and that was one of the most terrifying things ever. I realized I was going to be sharing that information and it felt so weird to just kind of toss it out there, but I really did need to be able to tell them like what the book was about and the characters, and a title helps too. I guess this is my title reveal. Was not originally supposed to be that, but my book, the first in a trilogy, is called The Solstice Court. It is the first in the Thrice Kingdom trilogy. I am going to be getting a professional map made. I currently have a really terrible one that I made myself. In order to not dissuade you from picking up The Solstice Court, I'll just give you a brief synopsis without my map. So within these 3 kingdoms, the Southern Kingdom and the Northernmost Kingdom are at war with each other. The Central Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom of Alaster, is where this first book takes place inside of the Solstice Court. The Solstice Court has a princess who has been part of the treaty in order to keep both of her neighboring kingdoms at bay, which has not been an issue until on the autumn equinox, both of the kingdom's heirs are at her court and she has to deal with them at the same time, keeping her balances between friendship, duty, and herself. I'm also having someone look at my blurb, so just so you know, that's my rough pitch. I am getting a blurb figured out. You'll see the rough draft of the blurb in the Google form if you decide to apply to beta read, but overall it's cozy vibes, a queer normative world, a chaotic Gemini MC, and a lot of important family and friendship dynamics. Platonic love is really important to me and plays a very large role throughout this series, so if that is something you're interested in, maybe give it a try. If it's not something you're interested in, I do have a booktube channel in which I recommend several different books that wouldn't fit into my books category, which I guess I never said the genre. It's fantasy, more specifically young upper YA adult cozy fantasy with sword and sorcery. The term cozy definitely is in flux right now, but I currently, based off of feedback and my own personal preferences for what I consider cozy, it does fall into the cozy category. If you disagree, let me know. I'm taking feedback currently. Now that I have put out the beta feelers and people are applying, which is great, glad that's happening. I don't know what my next step was going to be if people didn't. Now that people are applying, it's out of my hands. I'm going to give them the draft and I'm going to look the other way until they're finished. So I get to focus on NaNoWriMo. If you are unfamiliar with NaNoWriMo, that is National Writing Month, correct? National, no, November. I'm so sorry. Did I mention I'm sick? I'm incredibly ill. So I'm going to to be writing a lot in November, and a lot of people are going to be writing a lot in November. During NaNoWriMo, traditionally, you are trying to reach the goal of 50,000 words within the month of November. I think that equates out to about 1,660 something, 67, 65, 64, almost 666, but not quite. I'm not doing words per day, but I did see a fun little way of doing this online where people do NaNoWriMo in reverse, meaning on the first day, they write something like 5,000 words, next day 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, so on. I will put a chart right there. It's one that I found online, and I think it's a really good idea that will work out for me so that I don't get burnout, because I've been doing a lot of editing, and I'm not editing this time around. I'm actually going to have to write again, like on a blank piece of paper. So my plans for NaNoWriMo is to work on book 2 of the Thrice Kingdom trilogy. I can't tell you much of anything about book 2 because no one's even gotten to read book 1 yet. That seems unfair. But essentially what I'll be doing is I have been reading over book 2 like I did with book 1. It's been since 2020 since I originally read this book. Only notes I've been making are to highlight when different story beats happen. When the catalyst happens in book 2, I mark it. When the midpoint happens, I mark it. Is the main character sad and lonely and wallowing? Marking it. Apart from that, I'm not doing anything other than reading it as a reader, and then I will be going into NaNoWriMo with a fresh document, empty blank page, and I'm going to try and write it from memory with my current writing skill. When I wrote this book in 2020, I didn't have, I would say I wasn't illiterate, but I wasn't up to where I am now, which still can be greatly, greatly improved. Sorry, I hope you're not too crooked. My battery died. So the goal here is to rewrite the book, but with strong improvements with my current writing skill, and I really was able to solidify my themes this round, and I really understand where I want my characters to go and what I'm trying to make them experience. I have a point, which I think when writing this book I did have a point, I just wasn't as aware of it. And so going into this draft, which I guess would be draft 1, I'm really looking forward to seeing how I can explore this, because I am more of a discovery like pantser writer, but I like to have my ending already figured out, and I have that, and now I have a strong foundation. Or, you know, as strong as the Solstice Court currently is. I probably shouldn't get ahead of myself. Currently, book 2 of the Thrice Kingdom trilogy, it's sitting at a little over 100,000 words. So my goal for NaNoWriMo is to get to the halfway point, the midpoint essentially, of my novel for book 2, and I'll feel really good about that. That's still only the halfway point for me. In order to do that, I will not be able to write a certain amount of words every day. Some days my workload is really high, sometimes it's really low, sometimes I'm able to fit things in during lunch break, sometimes a class is canceled and I have nothing other to do than write. It changes day to day, my schedule varies. I know a lot of other people's vary too. I know I'm probably not the only one also working during NaNoWriMo, so I am going to be doing live sprints, writing sprints, and I want to make them a little bit more regimented. Chill sprint Jade is kind of gone. I want to have zero chill for my writing sprints. A lot of the time I will have friends on and I'll be chatting, I'll be talking, and we'll talk for a good like 20-25 minutes and write for about the same amount. That's not going to work here. I will be doing writing sprints. I'm going to have a schedule in my community tab that I put out, but my rough schedule, this is where it gets tricky because we have time zones. Editing Jade here. I tried to do the time conversion on the spot and that didn't work. I do have the graphic in the video, but just a quick breakdown of that graphic. I have Japan time as well as Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The time changes, of course, during NaNoWriMo on the first Sunday. So here it shows November 4th, 5th as 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 7 a.m. between the United States and Japan. And that only works for those days because after that the time zone changes again because of daylight savings. So the rest of the time zones are all daylight savings times, and then you can just add 4 hours for the first two for like London GMT time, and then 5 hours from then on out. And I'm sorry it's confusing. I was also confused. But yeah, those are the time zones. And because they will be pre-scheduled, you can also check on your YouTube channel should convert it. I know it's a little sketch, but sometimes it works. Okay, that's all. I haven't made the chart yet because I have a couple different plans that are in flux. Me getting sick did move some things around. Again, I will have a chart. I'll put it on my other social medias as well. There's going to be lots of sprints going on during NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo, and you're more than welcome to join, even if you're not writing, if you're reading, or if you're cleaning, you just want something to do or someone to chat with. My sprints will be open as well as other people's. I'm really excited though, and I really want to buckle down and do this. That's a lot of rambling. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm very excited about this. So I figured I would just make this video extra long for me to edit, especially since I want it out on the 1st or sooner. Some things that I'm going to have, because I didn't really prep in the traditional sense of NaNoWriMo. I didn't have to make some of the things that I saw a lot of other people doing for PrepTober because I already have a map. I already have my world building. I already know my magic system. I know my characters pretty thoroughly. So going into book 2, things that I will have that I know worked for me last time, a Pinterest. My Pinterest boards have been really helpful in helping me just kind of go back into the space. Having visual representation of what I'm trying to say can be really helpful for me. So my Pinterest will be a definite tab open at all times, as well as mood boards. I've made mood boards for book 1. I'll actually toss up a couple of them here. I use these when I'm just trying to like get into the headspace. Sometimes I'll make new ones while I'm listening to music, which brings me on to music. I have a playlist for the Solstice Court that I have been playing religiously since I started this. More songs have been put on, several have been taken off. It's in chapter order or almost like scene order. Some are for characters, some are for moments, some are just like a general vibe, but it's helped so much. I had a couple scenes that I wrote to the music, and when I needed to rewrite that scene, I threw that song on and I was instantly there. It was so helpful. So I will definitely be going into this trying to find different music, different lyrics that speak to me. Very excited for that, and to eventually share. I think it'd be really cool and fun to share my playlist for the Solstice Court. I don't know when I'll do that because I don't know if it's ready to share with people yet, but I think it would be a lot of fun. The other reason I have AM sprints and PM sprints, I have found that I will do my most writing in the evenings. So from about 7 p.m. to 11, I can just get all of the words out. It's like I've built up words and I'm just like trying to get them out of my system. But in the mornings, I have noticed I write better words. My ideal plan is to try and do a bit of back-to-back. I want to get a lot of words out in the evenings and then go in the next morning and try and just make sure that I'm getting some good words out, because I can't really just write a whole new 0 draft. I'd like to make this a first draft. So I will be working a little meticulously, and I'm hoping that I can still get that 50,000 words in through diligence. I don't know. I'm just gonna try really hard, but I can't just blurt all the words out this time. I think 0 drafts are really great though. If you are doing a 0 draft for NaNoWriMo, I cannot say this enough. It feels really good to just get the words out on the page. So if you want to write, just start writing. Write it and then figure out what you want it to look like after. And that's half the fun. I'll also be using Scrivener as a way of doing my story beats. So I've been putting story beat cards into Scrivener. I don't even say the page number. I just say like story beat, catalyst, and then what happens. Just so I can kind of keep that in my head as I go along. I do want to hit those important beats, but I also want to still make sure I have enough room to rewrite my story in a way that fits within the narrative of what actually is supposed to happen, and then I'm not just playing around in there. And then I also am a booktube channel. I do read, and I was really trying to think about what I wanted to read and how I could strategically work this into NaNoWriMo. I thought of Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I'm going to read not just Nettle and Bone, but I'm going to be reading T. Kingfisher books. Like, I'm going to just read a whole bunch of T. Kingfisher, because something that T. Kingfisher does that I would really like to do is write very cozy books in very odd genres. This is fantasy, but it's also horror, but it's also cozy. I really admire cozy's audacity to try and infiltrate every single genre. These are cozy and people are decapitated. There's a demonic chicken in here that's absolutely lovely, and I think that's part of the secret ingredient is the demonic chicken. The humor and the way the characters go about reacting to their situations, not necessarily the situation themselves, that makes it cozy. I'm still playing with the idea. I'm still trying to learn, but I do know that I feel warm and fuzzy every time I read a T. Kingfisher book. T. Kingfisher also writes very concisely. These are all very small, very short, and somehow incredibly character driven. I feel really connected to every one of her main characters in these books, and I want to know exactly how she's doing that in so few pages. So I think I would like to pick up a lot of T. Kingfisher books through the month of November and leading into December. I'd like to do a vlog. I'm not promising a vlog because every time I promise a vlog, something goes wrong. But if I I don't mention that I'm doing a vlog, and then I just do it. It does really well. My Legends and Lattes vlog, people really like that, which I'm so happy and so glad. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it though. Studying and speaking Japanese for only a month, still sitting on my computer, edit it once all the way through, and then my computer died, and it's exhausting to go back and edit a video you've already edited before. That's tea for another time. The point is that I'm not gonna promise a T. Kingfisher vlog, but wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be so fun if I just read a whole bunch of T. Kingfisher books and reacted to them and compared them and loved them and learned from them? I really just want to reread Nettle and Bone, so that is something I'm definitely reading in the month of November. I have put my promise books on pause because I don't want to break any promises. I did read my last promise book. It was lovely. Because of my computer breaking and me just feeling so far behind and me really needing to focus on this book so that I don't embarrass myself on a massive scale on the internet, I'd like to try and actually put time and energy and effort in, and then I will double back around to more regular content. But as of right now, it's my channel and I'm just vibing, and I'm really sorry about that. Did I have anything else I wanted to say? I don't actually think so. I think that was the end of my notes. I don't need to make this last all day. I can just end it here, and I think I will. With a couple of questions for you guys. I'd love to know, are you participating in NaNoWriMo? Do you like doing writing sprints? Would you like to join me? While you're already liking things, would you like to like this video? Because the algorithm officially hates me. I am in the trenches because I did stop uploading for several weeks. Months, I don't know. If you did like this video, give it a like. I'd love to know what your NaNoWriMo project is, what you plan on doing. Let me know about your stories in the comments, and whether you do or not, I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are. Until next time, bye!